and welcome to another video by yours truly, Erica. Today I'm very excited to be showing a new stamp from Picket Studios called Christmas Poinsettia Star. It is a huge bold flower, and like Picket Studios are pretty famous for doing. I have heat embossed this flower with white on a pretty large panel. I think it's actually 6 by 6 inches. This cardstock, I believe, is Bristol Vellum card from Strathmore. Although, don't hold me to that because I can't exactly remember right now. However, as you can see, I am heat embossing this, and yeah, it's getting slightly mesmerized by the melting process. I love this part. Anyway, sorry to get a little bit distracted there. Anyway, this Christmas Poinsettia Star stamp is part of the September release from Picket Studios, and I will link all the products below because this is an incredible release yet again. I'm super excited as well because this is my first video as part of the design team. So there might be some ooping and squeaking as we go along, but hopefully by now you know me and know that this is just part of my brand, shall we say. Right, so with the heat embossing done, I'm just gonna leave that to cool down for a second because, you know, if you touch it too soon, then you get fingerprints and ain't nobody got time for that. Now for this coloring, I'm actually using new to me Arteza TwiMarkers. These are water-based markers, and I am actually going to be using them kind of like I use my SIG markers. However, first, we're just going to have a little bit of a closer look at these colors. They are really lovely, and it covers all the colors and shades and everything. And because I like knowing what I'm working with, I'm also going to be doing a quick swatch. Now, we are going to be going into a time-lapse video for the actual swatching because that did take a little bit of time. So, you know, we're just going to kind of breeze over that part, yet still enjoy it. Look at all those pinks. Eee! So excited. Now, what I did with the swatches was I cut out 2-inch wide strips of water cardstock, and then I simply divided them up into 1-inch thick sections. Wrote down all the names and the numbers for each individual markers, and then I simply did basically a swatch of each color. So I started out with adding lots of the color, and then I blended out the color with a watercolor brush, just to kind of see how they react with water. And yeah, the swatching process it's if you haven't tried it or if you don't do that, then you're kind of missing out because it really is a fun process and it's soothing. Plus you get to know all your colors and how they react with water and what they actually end up looking like. So definitely worth doing. So here we go, that's my first color. Now I did both the white tip and the fine tip, but then I realized I didn't actually really need to see what the fine tip looked like. So I ended up scribbling over that and just doing all the colors with with water. I don't know what I'm talking about today. So I did all the colors with water, and then the little bit on the end is just the color without any water added, just to kind of get that, you know, the difference and seeing what they look like without and with. It's always good to do both, just so that you know what you're working with. Now, the way I have gone about and doing the coloring was with all my swatches. I picked out some colors that I thought could be good to use. Now, the ones that I picked out, I didn't actually end up using all of them, but it was a good starting point. Now, with my watercolor brush in hand, I used a little acrylic block, and what I started doing was also make sure that your watercolor brush is filled before you start because you're going to go through a lot of water. So to get the coloring started, what I did was I started with the lightest color, and I simply dabbed a little bit or scribbled a little bit on my acrylic block, as you can see. And then from there, I added a little bit of water and started going all over my image to do a base layer. Now it will look pretty bright, this first one, but don't worry, it does fade as you're going along, and also as you're adding more water and as it dries. So the good thing with watercoloring is that it's pretty forgiving. So you can usually save it by either adding more water or simply dabbing off some of the color. So don't despair if it doesn't look great right away. It really is a work in progress with watercoloring. And there are ways to save it, so don't ever throw your pieces away. Now, this video is also going to morph into a time-lapse video, but as I said, the first color, the layer here, I'm just going over kind of willy-nilly a little bit, just covering with different opaqueness and different levels of water, just to kind of get a little bit of a starting point. To be honest, at this point, I wasn't sure whether this was going to be the video that I was going to show or not, but what I tend to do is I film the process as I go along. I see where I can make improvements, and then if I realize that this really isn't going where I wanted to go, I will either put it aside for another project, or I will use that as a bit of a, hey, look at what you shouldn't be doing. Because nobody ever makes perfect cards all the time. And I really do think that it's quite important to show the fails as well as the good ones, because there's always bound to be someone out there that just need a little bit of encouragement, saying, oh, it's not just me that mess up. Phew. Because I know I was like that in the beginning. It is just one of those things where you just kind of want to feel not like a failure, you know? Anyway, so back to the coloring. As you can see, I'm just going over kind of a little bit. Again, I use willy-nilly as an expression of just not with particular intent. Adding colors here and there, adding a little bit more, and I do try to go over the petals that I think have dried a little bit in between, because if you add too much, they just kind of blend in together and you get no sort of contrast or differentials really. So the good thing with a big image like this is that there will always be one petal that is more dry than the one that you just worked on. Right, the rest of the coloring will be done in a time lapse, which I'm pretty sure we'll be jumping into very, very soon. So sit back, watch, and enjoy, hopefully. I was wrong. It's not happening. But I'm pretty sure it will very soon. Aha, here we go. Okay, so the first layer of all my petals are now drying. So I started moving on to the leaves, and then whilst they were drying, I started adding another layer on my petals. Now you can see that the contrast and the details are coming out as you're starting to build up your layers. And the more details you want, the more layers you add. It's just that simple. So by adding the layers to the dried layers, you're actually building it up so much better. So just be patient. The key with watercoloring is letting the layers dry in between. Now, going into the middle, the stamens, I'm going to be coloring in with the ochre color, the yellow ochre. And then once that's dried a little bit, I'm going to go in with the fine tip to just add a little bit of contrast and detail, so it's not just all kind of wishy-washy the same. And with the coloring done, and I left this to dry overnight as well, because you just want to make sure it's all really, really dry. I came back the next day, cut out a mask to cover my flower, because even though as pretty and bold as it is, it just needs a little something to kind of make it pop a little bit. And what I'm doing now is just going around checking my mask to see that it is over the heat embossed edge, so that it's not going to leave any white lines in between. It may be a little bit of a time-consuming process, but it's definitely worth doing it, because it's so much easier to go in and cut out the mask and do it properly, rather than trying to cover it up as you're taking the mask off and realize, oh, there's a big white spot there. Now, the ink blending I'm going to be doing is going to be with these distress oxides, iced spruce and hickory smoke. And of course, I'm using my life-changing blender brushes to do this. I cannot stress enough what a game changer these brushes have been for my ink blending. I was never very good at getting a light, even ink blend with the foam pads. I don't know whether I just wasn't patient enough, which is probably the case, or whether I wasn't light enough with my hand movements. I don't know. It was something that I was never able to get it quite right. Deep, rich colors, sure, no problems. A really light, just brush of color, no. These brushes, however, make it so easy. It's incredible. And again, I cannot recommend them enough. So peeling the mask off to have a look at the work, you can see that by taking that little bit of extra time and making sure that the mask is inside the heat embossed lines, I get no white space, which is exactly what I wanted. However, apparently I decided I wanted a little bit more of a depth of color. So, and I had a little flying friend trying to bust in on my crafting party there. So I'm placing the mask back on. And the reason I'm doing this is to protect my coloring, because I'm also going to splatter a little bit of water on the background to get that lovely effect. However, it didn't actually lift off as much as I thought it was going to. So I could have skipped this part, to be honest. However, here we go, a little bit of water, split the splatter, and then whilst that's drying, I'm going to move on to the sentiment part of my card. Now, I did actually get one of the Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil system machines a while back, but I used the wrong kind of foil and wasn't getting very good results, so I didn't use it. However, turns out if you use the right kind of foil, it works really, really well. So I decided to try it again, and I'm using the FaLaLaLaLaa 2-part foil die cut, also from this new release. So I'm setting this up on my glimmer machine, and I reread the instructions to get it right every time, just to make sure that I'm not wasting any more foil. But look at the reveal. When you get it right, it really is magical. Look at that. Isn't that so cool? I love that. Now, I've also used the coordinating second part, like shadow part, to cut out the FaLaLaLaLaa bit. Now, with my card added, or the background and the flower added to a card base, I simply glued down my sentiment and the card was done. I decided to keep it really simple and let the flower be the focal point of this card. Right, thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video, even with all the jibber jabbering. And don't forget to check out the rest of the release from Picket Fun Studios. As always, I've listed the products I've used with affiliate links at no extra cost to you in the sections below. I really appreciate you supporting me in my crafting journey by shopping using these links. So thank you, thank you.